What's up, guys? I'm back here with another video today, and today I want to talk about why I think Anthony Edwards should be a definite front runner for MVP this season. So, first of all, I want to talk about what this guy has done in the clutch this season. I mean, you see the highlights of him winning and shooting game-winning shots, making a lot of them. For example, against the Thunder earlier this season, huge win for them and put them well off in the standings. They might not get to OKC, but they're in the contention for those top seeds, right? Which is very important for MVP. You got to be high on those seeds, and you got to be on a good team, because if you're like an 8 seed, you're not going to win MVP. It doesn't matter if you're averaging 35 points. All right, it just doesn't matter. That's just how voting has been decided over the last 30 years in the NBA. But this guy's come up in the clutch. He has shown he can make tough shots in clutch situations. Just last night, he hit about 4 daggers in the Memphis game and showed what he can do. And this guy is absolutely great when it comes to marketing and how Adidas has marketed him, I should say. I mean, you see the ads of literally whenever he gets a fine, he's just taking a $5,000, $25,000, wad of cash and just throwing it at the league. I mean, if that's not a marketing genius tactic, I don't know what is. I mean, this guy is been marketed great. He's got his own signature shoe line that has been very successful over the last couple of years. I think he's on his second one now, and that's going great for him. And he's starting to become the kind of NBA player that can be put into these conversations. We can put him in these MVP conversations because of the efficiency of how good he's been, not only in the clutch, but all game of every single game. Sometimes when his team isn't able to convert all the time like they need to, Ant can come up and he can go on, a 10-0 run to put him back in the lead. I mean, if you watch games this season, this guy looks great on the court. I mean, I don't have to tell you how much of a talent Anthony Edwards is, but this guy is the guy who you want taking the last shot. And, you've seen the MJ comparisons. You've seen ESPN try to force on these tough narratives that will really never be proven. I mean, you can't compare him to Michael Jordan. But what you can compare him to is himself. And he has been improving every single year of his career. You've seen what kind of work he puts into the offseason. You've seen what kind of work that he puts in practice. You've seen how competitive he is, and that competitiveness alone is why I think he will not only be one of the greatest to play in Timberwolves history, but could potentially be, in that top 20 conversation of all time when it is all said and done. But that's just my opinion. He is only on year 6 now, so there's still time to come, but we'll see what he can do in the playoffs, and we'll see what he can do in terms of accolades, and then we can start making those conversations. But, I mean, he's shown he can score. He doesn't need to show that, but he's been averaging 29.5 points this season. He just dropped a 40 bomb last night. He been dropping 40 bombs left and right this season. I think he's right there with Luka on the amount of 40-point games that he's had this season, which with Luka, I mean, the guy's a scoring fanatic. So just to be in those types of conversations as a 24-year-old is impressive, to say the least. But not only has he shown that, he's shown that he can be a great defensive player. And, when you look at other guys in the league, like Luka, like Shea, you can see the defensive floor is pretty high, all things considered. For Shea, he's a solid defensive player. Luka, you've seen his issues. You've seen how sometimes you can start to question those kind of aspects in his game. Can he be a good defender when it comes to deep in playoff times when he has to guard the other team's best player? Like, can he be that guy for a 7-game series? But when you look at Ant, you don't have these questions. He not only has the effort, he has the competitiveness, and he has the athleticism to be able to not only stay with any guy, but also alter shots at all 3 levels. He's over the year had game-winning blocks. He's figured out how to guard pretty much anyone on the floor because of that mix of athleticism, talent, and hard work. And I think when you're really looking at great defensive players, that's what you look for. They have other guys like Jaden McDaniels on the team who, can rely on his long, lengthy arms and his stature. And Anthony Edwards is, an average size NBA player, a little bit technically under average at about 6'5", but, he's very strong. He's got a lot of heft to him, so he's able to stay with pretty much anyone on the floor. On the smaller side, when you get to like 6'1", 6 foot, 6'2", and he can guard up to that 6'9", 6'10" because of his strength on the floor, and he can really guard that 1 through 5, which is important when we're coming to MVP conversations, because you don't want someone who can just do things at only an offensive level. You want guys who can get offensive pressure and offensive firepower, and then on the other side be able to go and guard the team's best player. And I believe that the Timberwolves are a very good defensive team, right? They got Rudy Gobert, who has been a great defensive player over his career, even though he gets a lot of criticism for not being a great perimeter defender, but that's a conversation for another day. You got Jaden McDaniels, who I was talking about earlier. I mean, one of the greatest defensive players in Minnesota history. I think that's been proven because of how good he's been on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you've had guys in the past like Nickeil Alexander-Walker who played great defense while Ant was on the floor with him. And I think he started to transcend from that guy who can just be a great offensive scorer to someone who can really do everything on the basketball court. And I don't think he gets enough love for his defense. I will stand on that hill. I think everyone talks about his clutch. Everyone talks about, his offensive firepower, but his defense is not talked about enough, in my opinion. And the Timberwolves this season, I think right now are sitting at a 4 seed, which is not bad. Maybe not exactly what you're looking for. You could try to, as a team who's been to the conference finals the last 2 seasons, maybe try to inch into that top 3 seeds, but that's really okay. The Timberwolves are the type of team who, in a 7-game series, are going to match up well against a lot of teams. You've seen how they've done against Nuggets over the last few years in a 7-game series. They lost one in 2023, but after that, they beat Nuggets in the 7, and that has allowed them to have confidence against them. And you've seen how they beat the Nuggets last game. And I think Anthony Edwards is starting to become the kind of guy where it's like, what are his weaknesses and how can we exploit them? Because you saw at the beginning of this year, he was starting to get more double teams, and now he's kind of solved his entire problem with it. And I think that a guy like that, you can't do anything, because if you have a great team and great shooters on the outside, like I think the Timberwolves have been off and on with, sometimes their shooters can, not be the greatest, but they've got, a great offensive 5 and shooting 5 in Naz Reid, and you got Dante on the wing, and Jaden McDaniels can hit shots for you, and that entire Timberwolves team can shoot. So I think it's just him putting everything on his game and kind of just combining it all together to allow a great team. And honestly, I think this is Anthony Edwards' award to win. But that's all I got for you guys in this video. If you like the video, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.